Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Global Divest Day. You are part of hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of events worldwide. 350, organization 350.org called a Global Divest Day worldwide about 4 months ago. And we've been organizing to this. And the big thing in our town is Divest UO. They're the ones who are doing a big thing. There's other good stuff happening in town. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But we are really glad to have you out. We're going to take pictures and post this up on the national site. We're going to be part of a global divest movement. This is one of the fastest growing movements. It's faster than the one with South Africa. It's catching on all over. People are trying to catch up. And hopefully some of our speakers today will be talking about the successes and then the progress. So, you're in the right spot. Now, my prepared remarks. Thanks for coming out today. It's a very important worldwide event, and we celebrate the U of O student divestment leaders and their faculty allies in this tremendous work to divest our UO Foundation. They're a little resistant, have you heard? Just a little. So they told the students, hey, we're not too interested in this divestment thing, whatever you're talking about. We'll see if there's any support for it. So the students dug in and they said, we'll show you support. And they spent hours and hours and hours out here getting signatures. And the students passed it, didn't they? Amazing. A lot of hours. And then they prepared before the Senate a resolution for divestment, which was, held up by the GTFS strike, if you recall. But they kept coming back and coming back. Good faculty support, passed unanimously. They are awesome leaders. So you can see it's just going to happen, that's all. It's just going to happen. You are the wave that's going to make that happen. So my name is Patty Hine. I'm a community organizer in the 350 local chapter here, and I'm thrilled to be here. We are very excited about divestment. It's one of our 4 campaigns that our local chapter works on. We call it Divestment, Everybody, Everywhere, Now. Doesn't that about tell you what you need to do? Divestment is fabulous, not because it immediately changes anything dramatically. Not really. Our economic system is a pretty broken one. We love it because it's a great way to get all kinds of people to start talking about climate change. And it makes us stop and think about where our money is and what it's doing. And then you can take power and change where your money is and what it's doing. And that's very empowering. The business model of the fossil fuel companies is to burn all of their identified fossil fuel reserves, right? That would be their business plan. And we know what would happen if their business plan was executed. It would be putting us past the tipping point of climate change by far. So they have to leave 80% of it in the ground. So do you remember when slavery came about and we asked all the southern farmers that they were going to have to write off all those assets? It was trillions of dollars worth of assets in their slave holdings. We are really bringing their economic system to an end. And they went through great losses. Civil war among them. This is the kind of write-off that we're asking fossil fuel companies to do. Write it off. We can't burn it. We're sorry, but things have changed. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about. And the divestment conversation is one that brings this to light. And it's quite shocking, but it is the world we live in. Because if we're going to have long-term plans to live and thrive, and I think that's what the U of O students have in mind. That's what we have in mind for you. We have to set ourselves on being 100% fossil-free. Nothing less will do. We simply must make it happen, and we know the leaders who can be leaders. They can be climate heroes. Those are the ones we want to support. Some of them are here today. Thanks, students at U of O. We have it on good authority that you're really leading the pack, because I heard yesterday at Lane Community College that some of those administrators are going to Portland State in April to learn how we might divest. And there's a friendly rivalry perhaps going on to see who might get there first. I think this is what good competition is all about. So U of O students, thanks for your leadership. We're behind you 100%. If you'd like to get more involved and learn about divestment in your churches or in your organizations, you can come to the 350 meetings or show up on Facebook. It's one of our campaigns. You can learn all about it. We are so proud of the U of O for the work they've done. Thanks, thanks, thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, is it working? Am I doing it correctly? Yes. Okay. So thank you, Patty. We appreciate your speech. Next up, we're going to have our faith speaker, Melanie Oommen, give a little speech for us. Okay. I'm reminded, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm reminded of my involvement in the 80s as a college student in the divestment movement related to South Africa and apartheid, and it's moving today to stand and witness all of you on the forefront of our latest movement that we need to address. I am the Reverend Melanie Oommen, Associate Minister of the First Congregational United Church of Christ here in Eugene, just a few blocks south of this university. My denomination, the United Church of Christ, in July 2013 became the first national body and the first religious denomination to vote to divest from fossil fuel companies. And we continue to call on our member congregations and other organizations at all levels of our society to do the same. I'm proud that we took this stand, and I'm humbled by the time and energy it takes to come to understand the critical moment in which we stand as a species, and the hard work it takes to convince one another that divestment is a practical imperative. The Hebrew Scriptures tell us in Deuteronomy 30, "See, I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and adversity. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am commanding you today by loving the Lord your God, walking in God's ways and observing God's commandments, decrees and ordinances, then you shall live and become numerous, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land that you are entering. But if your heart turns away and you do not hear, but are led astray to bow to other gods and serve them, I declare to you today that you will perish. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life, so that you and your descendants may live." Written in the 7th century BCE, these words of warning and opportunity ring truer than ever as we stand on the edge as a species, as a part of the whole of creation, of life and death. Will we choose life? Indeed, we cannot appease the gods of the petroleum industry and all that way of life represents and choose life. We know enough. We know too much to think or believe or invest our resources otherwise. So we gather this day with sisters and brothers all over the world and declare publicly, whatever may come, that full and complete divestment from the fossil fuel industry in every form is choosing life. So may the spirit of life that was the first impulse of creation stir again in our souls and hearts, our communities and our decisions, granting the courage, the conviction, the connection, and the clarity of vision necessary to unearth the forces of evil that have brought us to this day of choice, life or death, survival or destruction. And let us choose life. Let us choose divestment. Faculty member Kari Norgaard come up and speak. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Let's see. I'm Kari Norgaard, and it's really an honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I first made a commitment 7 years ago when my son was born that I would do personally everything I could to stop climate change. It's not always clear what we need to do. We're given messages, many messages, that personal behavior or these kinds of things. There's a lot of hopelessness and sense of paralysis in our political system. And I want to say that this divestment movement is very, very important. It's a very exciting movement. It's centrally important for many reasons. It's important because the fossil fuel industry not only are producing fossil fuels, which we know we need to keep in the ground, but because the fossil fuel industry also has politically captured our political institutions. And this is a way of saying no and reclaiming our democracy. For us to see each other here and realize that we are not alone. One of the things that keeps many more people from participating, I believe, and based on the research that my work has been about, has to do with the sense that we look around and we don't see people standing up and reaching out and doing things. And that in fact is because the people around us don't care. And I want you to notice each other and notice that you're part today of a movement that has over 400 sites in multiple countries, university and college campuses across the country. Students and faculty have been working to divest. We can do it here too. It's important not only for the amount that our university has divested. I don't know the specific numbers, but I believe the university has sort of taken a stance of saying, well, it's not really that big a deal. It's a big deal symbolically, even if it's not a big deal. It sounds like it's 7 million, so I was wrong. But it is also a big deal symbolically because, and those symbolic moves translate into material outcomes as well. We need to respond to climate change through immediate and structural actions, and this is a very, very powerful one. All of us have here to do together. So thanks all of you for coming. I know other people will also speak about the other things that are happening at the statewide and local level in terms of putting a price on carbon, which I believe is really an imperative, and it's very exciting to me personally to have all of you here. When I first made that pledge that I was going to do whatever I could, there were not so many people around me, so thank you.